The Vallis Undermind brought us quite a few new things, some of them good, some of them bad, but some were actually clues hidden in plain sight. While I was doing bounties for Nightcap, I found out quite a few new things about Nokko, how he was discovered, how he grew up, and what his connection is to Nightcap in the first place. But along with that, I also found a few missing links, and it raised some questions. Now that I know a little bit more, I want some answers. So with that, let's start with the basics. What do we learn about Nokko thanks to the prince and what Nightcap tells us? Well, let's get into it. Well, we learned that Nightcap was a corpus contractor hired to go into the deep mines and retrieve mushroom samples from Nefanyo. But soon, he found himself in a peculiar situation. Something was messing with his gear. Not long after, we found a little sprottling playfully running amok and causing some chaos for him. Of course, he quickly bonded with this sprottling as well as fell in love with the deep mines itself. He realized that this ecosystem, and especially the fungi or mushrooms if you will, is the one thing protecting Venus from the toxicity and harm of the Corpus Empire. With all the new knowledge that he had, Nightcap decided that the deep mines should be protected at all costs and that the Corpus faction was actually exploiting the fungi to use their abilities that it grants to their own advantage. This, of course, infuriated Nefanyo as he ordered his troops to go into the deep mines once more, but Nightcap simply would not allow it. Instead, his bond with Nokko and the life inside the deep mines drove him to shut down the elevator that went into that holy place. Nightcap then decided to name the skid that he found wandering Nokko, which he got from saying not corporate or Nokko. Soon after, Nefanyo's soldiers broke through and wreaked havoc on the deep mines, and that is when Nokko's new protector and possibly parent figure at this point exploded at the entrance to the deep mines so that no one could ever come back in again. It then seems like some time passes, but unfortunately the deep mine hero Nightcap is getting weaker and weaker, possibly due to the wounds that he got from fighting and betraying the Corpus faction, or possibly from being poisoned in the deep mines itself. The last section ends where Nightcap passes away with Nokko at his side, and you hear a low warm sigh from Nightcap's little sprottling, possibly now grown up and much larger than it was before. Now, of course, this is already a tale for the ages, but it does raise quite a few questions. For one, how did Nokko become a Warframe? 2. How did Nightcap survive all of this since he's obviously alive and well? And then 3. What gave the deep mines the life force and almost mystical or magical energy that it holds? Well, let's start with number 1 because it's also going to be tying into number 3. Bear in mind though, this is all speculation from here on out, so if you want to, you can join in on the conversation by commenting down below because I love to read all your comments and all your speculations. Let's have a discussion. The first thing that came to mind is Nokko was a sprottling when he was found. He was a kid. And you can hear that by the way that he sounds when he was first encountered by Nightcap. You have that little sprottling giggle, right? Well, that begs the question, if he was a sprottling then, did he then grow up? As far as I know, Warframes cannot grow up except maybe the exception of the Stalker and Jade's baby, but we don't know a lot about that yet. Well, I do have some friends that suggested that Nokko might have been turned into a Warframe beforehand, but then resurrected as the mushroom frame that he is now. But the thing is, I have a different theory. There's a section where Nightcap says the following.
Well, look at you, Nokko. You ain't some leftover freak that some Oregon mucker made in the lab. Don't know how or why, but somewhere along the line, you became the roots and fruits.
But then the thing is this then suggesting that Nokko might have been native to the deep mines, or at least that piece of land? Well, it's entirely possible, obviously it can be, but I still have a different theory about all of this. There's a mission, a bounty that you can do, especially the one that says weed the garden, where you can find a specific mushroom called the No mushroom. Now, this mushroom is special. It's the only one that gives your current held weapon void powers, and when you actually pick it up, you can hear this faint laughter from the indifference in the background.
Ooh, you took a no.
Also, the description reads, "Is someone watching?" And I think that this holds the key to the deep mines. Look, we know that the point of contact between the Indifference and Albrecht Intradi happened a long time ago. But does that then mean that the Indifference might have enough power to, well, hold some power in our current world as well? Would it not be fair to say that if the Indifference or even the Void has enough power to create entire worlds, that the Indifference or the Man in the Wall, or maybe even Wally if you want to call him that, has enough power to create a being in our world? What if the mushrooms in the deep mines, at least some of them, were given sentience, were given power, And that is how the Sprotlings came to be. That is how Nokko came to be. This of course would allow Nokko to grow just like the Stalker and the Jade's baby will possibly be able to grow. It'll also explain the origins of Nokko, or the unknown origins technically, since he just appeared out of nowhere. But see, it wouldn't stop there. See, there's a whole family of Sprotlings in the deep mines, hundreds, maybe even thousands, and you can see evidence of this when you do some of the bounties where you have to resurrect and help the Sprotlings, as well as the idle animations when you play Nokko as a Warframe. But with that, is it not safe to assume that the Sprotlings can also grow like Nokko, or maybe Nokko is the Sprotlings, maybe even the entire deep mines itself? Or rather a manifestation thereof. Nightcap does call it Nokko's garden after all.
Okay, Nokko. Your garden is safe.
Now let's move on to number 2. How the hell is Nightcap still alive? Well, I have my theories. I might not be right, but I have my theories. See, when Nightcap dies, Nokko lets out a low, warm sigh. Having to lose possibly his best friend, or maybe even a parent figure, it's simply not an option. So what if Nokko used his second ability, which is like a healing and energy giving shroom, to give the life force and energy continuously to Nightcap? There's a reason I'm saying this. When you're looking at Nightcap, you can see mushrooms growing out of his shoulders and stuff like that, but they look very distinct. When you look at Nokko's abilities, his first one is like a round shroom thing, right? His second ability, the healing and energy giving one, that's like a flat top shroom where you can kind of jump on that as well. Well, you can jump on all of them, but point being, right? What if Nokko used that ability to continuously, 24/7, give Nightcap life and life force just to keep him alive, just to have enough energy to push on? I mean, maybe I'm wrong, right? But let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think. I've also seen some things where people say that Nokko is Yareli's brother. Let me clear up the confusion. In the dev stream, I think it was, maybe even a dev short, it was said that Nokko is not actually Yareli's brother, but kind of like a figurative brother. It's a way to say that their personalities are very similar. The way that they play, the way that they dance, where they're like kind of all giddy and everything like that, right? So they're similar, like brother and sister, but they're not actually physically related. So let's just clear up that confusion right now. Maybe DE changes their mind in the future, but for now at least, no actual relations. But what do you guys think? Do you think that the indifference actually holds some power, or maybe some motivation for the deep mines to even exist, for Nokko to even exist, maybe even the Sprotlings? Let me know in the comment section down below. And if you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to the channel. It's free and you can help me get to 15,000 subscribers. If you don't enjoy the content later on, you can always unsubscribe. That's also free. With that being said, if you would like to see a video about the recent changes and updates, check the video on your screen right now.